Hey everybody, welcome back to Change Your Perspective, Change Your Awareness, Change Your Life. I'm Dr. Michelina AF, hashtag that felon doctor, here to talk about wounding, specifically today, trust wounds. We're going to talk about trust wounds because most people have them. And there's a pretty substantial lack of trust out there. Now, like all the wounds that we're going to cover, I have had, and maybe do still have, remnants of them. So I'm intimately acquainted with the trust wound. Now, I will tell you right now, if you are a control freak, you have a trust wound. That's the easiest way to tell it. The easiest way to tell it. If things have to be your way on your time and your expected outcome, you have a trust wound. Okay? So my control freaks out there, if you are a control freak, you have a trust wound. And that is because probably you've been disappointed a lot. You've wanted people to help you and they haven't. You've been let down. You've had expectations around things and it hasn't come out the way you wanted it to, because let's face it, it never does. So you have a control issue. You also probably have a hyper independence issue, right? Because you are just like, I'll just do it myself. I don't need anybody. What that I don't need anybody actually translates to is I don't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody to do the job as well as I do. Now, my women, we do this a lot. And what it does is it keeps our men from being able to be the men in our lives. Women, if you do this, if you're like, hey, honey, can you take out the trash? And they're like, yeah, baby, I'll do it. And then they don't do it in the time or the way that you want it done. Now you're annoyed and you go and do it yourself. You didn't give them the space to show up. You had expectations, you were a control freak, and you needed it done in your way, in your time, because you can't trust anybody. But you don't give people the space to show up, so don't wonder why you don't trust anybody, because you have a trust issue, right? So we set ourselves up to fail and don't even realize it. And we're like, oh, I can't rely on anybody else. And it's like, yeah, because you're a control freak who has a trust issue. And more than that, you have expectations that like people need to show up the way that you show up. And that is very damaging because we don't let people be themselves. We don't let people show up in the way that they're capable of showing up. And so the trust wound is a big one. We can't trust people. But more than that even, we can't trust ourselves. I know, I like to let that one sink in because it hurts, right? If you can't trust others, you also can't trust you. And here's why. And I saw this beautiful quote the other day that I think sums it up so nicely. The bird doesn't trust the branch that it lands on. It trusts its own ability to fly away. And what that little quote parable means is that if you feel like you can't trust anybody, it's because you're relying on them to show up trustworthy, and you're not relying on your own inner strength and ability to do what the situation calls for. Now, admittedly, in our relationships, we need to have a measure of trust, but trust, like anything, should be given before it is received. And I know what people say, and I know this is going to be contradictory. They say trust needs to be earned, and I say you're an idiot. And here's why. Because you're demanding somebody give you something that you haven't earned. You haven't earned their trust. You show up in trust first, and you will earn their trust. You show up in respect first, and you will earn their respect. Whatever you want out of the Commonwealth, you need to show up as. And I used to say this to my kids all the time. I respect you guys because you're here and you're my students. You don't need to do anything other than show up and I respect you. And that's how we have to be for our partners and the people we're in relationship with trust. You don't have to do anything. I trust you. Well, Michelina, doesn't that mean that I might get taken advantage of and I might get hurt? Yes, it does mean that. But here's the thing. If they were going to take advantage of you, they're going to take advantage of you either way, whether you trust them or not. There's a higher likelihood that they're going to take advantage of you if you don't trust them. And here's why. If they know you don't trust them, why are they going to work hard to earn your trust? It's a failed premonition, right? It's a failed notion. It's like, No, I'm not going to work. If this, here, as an example, here it is as an example, right? You know when you had the professor who was like, nobody gets A's in this class? Do you think that made people want to work harder to get the A? Or be like, all right, fuck it, I'm going to get a B then? You not showing up in trust is the same exact thing. Your energy of, I don't trust anybody, is going to make you attract people that you can't trust, that don't want to earn your trust. So if you have a trust wound, if you are a control freak, if you are hyper independent, if you feel like you can never rely on anybody, you want to do it all yourself, you have a trust wound. If you have a trust wound, you need to learn how to trust yourself, to be able to be strong enough to handle whatever comes up. To be able, trust yourself to be able to handle if somebody hurts you. Trust yourself enough to be able to handle if and when somebody disappoints you. Right? We need to reframe life in a lot of ways. It's like, why do we think we're never getting hurt? Why do we think we're never going to be disappointed? Why do we think we're never going to get let down? Do we think we never disappoint anybody? Do we think we never let people down? It's the most flawed premise that we'd have as humans. It's like we're shocked when we're hurt, but we hurt people all the time. And none of us mean to do it. Like, we're all little monsters, right? And so you're like, well, how am I ever supposed to trust anybody? You can trust people to show up to the best of their ability. Not the best of your ability, the best of their ability. Now, I'll give you a good example of this. So I'm in partnership with somebody that there are things about that person I trust. I trust they're going to call me every day. There is not a day that has gone by for 7 months that that person hasn't called me. I trust that they're going to do that. I also trust that person's going to make some dumbass decisions every once in a while, especially as they grow and have new life and make new things. I trust that they're going to fall back and make some dumb decisions that I don't agree with. I can trust that. You're like, well, wait a minute. How can you call that trust? Because they're showing up in accordance with the way they show up. Can I trust them not to hurt me? Absolutely not. Because they're going to hurt me. In fact, I give that person permission to hurt me. Because what else are they going to do? Of course they're going to hurt me. They're not going to mean to. But when you're bringing people together, of course they're going to hurt you. Of course you're going to be hurt. They don't want to hurt you, but they're gonna. Because they can do something that doesn't seem hurtful and you can be hurt by it. And you know who is responsible for your hurt? You are. A whole nother lesson for a whole nother day that I won't get into. Going back to trust, I can trust people to show up in accordance with their behaviors and their patterns. I can trust myself to be able to handle it. Now, I had to work through this. 5 years, guys. 5-year journey. Very tough, very hard. Very much hurtful, very painful. Now I can trust myself. Am I still a control freak? Yes, I am. Yes. Because this is a hard wound. This trust wound is a hard wound. How do you get a trust wound? When your needs and wants aren't fulfilled in the way you think they need to be fulfilled, a lot of the times. When your needs and wants aren't fulfilled. And or when you're looking to other people to figure out your needs and wants. You're looking to them to figure out your needs and wants so you don't have to do it, and for them to fulfill them. And we do this all the time. We give people a 2-part job. It's like, figure out my needs and wants and also do that. And it's like, no, that's not their job and it's not their responsibility. It's mine. I need to know what I need and want. I need to do my best at fulfilling that for myself. And if it's something that I can't possibly fulfill on my own, which is true, there are things that exist like that, then I have to trust that I'm going to be able to find the person to fulfill it. Maybe not in my time and maybe not in my expectation, maybe not in my own way, but it'll happen. We don't trust at all. We don't trust in the benevolence of the universe. We don't trust, if we're Christians, we don't trust in our Creator. We don't trust in other people. We don't trust in ourselves. We sure don't trust the system, though. That's an understandable mistrust. Or, God, the people who do trust the system. Like, guys, hello, why? But that's another topic, again, for another day that I won't go into. Although I do talk a little bit about it on my video that talks about justice, I think. I think it's in the virtues segment. I talk a little bit about the judicial system, which you know I'm intimately acquainted with. So, as far as trust is concerned, we have a massive trust wound. We have a massive trust problem of the self, of the other, of the world, of the this, of that. Massive trust, massive trust. And so how can you grow your trust? That's really the things. How do you grow your trust? How do you trust people? How do you trust yourself? How do you trust anything? Right? You trust what you've experienced as a start. I trust that I can get through this because I've got a track record of getting through this. I trust that I'm going to be okay because I have a track record of being okay. I trust that this is going to hurt because every time I do this thing, it hurts, you know? We have to get to a place where we can trust. And the first way to really grow that little by little, step by step, is to say, okay, I can trust that this thing is going to happen because it's already happened. That's the first place to start for yourself most of the time. But growing your trust is a skill. It is a process. Trusting other people is a skill. It's a process, and it is a choice. It is an absolute choice that we have to make. And this is why, you know, affairs are tricky. This is why, you know, reconciliation after betrayal is tricky. Because it's like, I have to choose to trust you. And you betrayed that trust before. And as anybody who has done it, it is one of the hardest things to do. However, it does allow for people to make mistakes. And that's how we grow. Nobody's perfect. We can't have a standard of perfection. Admittedly, we also can't have a process of enabling. Like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. If I trust you after you cheated on me, but you've done it 3 more times, like, now we've got a pattern. I trust that you're going to cheat on me again, so I ain't here for it. You see how that works? If you can see someone showing up differently, it's like, okay, I can trust that you're trying. I can trust that you actually are making an effort to do the things I've asked you to do, because I can see that you are. You're not doing it perfectly, but I can trust that you're trying. I can see that. Trust is such an interesting one. I could go on all these wounds I could talk about for a very long time, and I hope it's helpful to you, my control freaks, my hyper independent people. Anybody will tell you now that those things are trauma responses. Okay, they just are. And trauma is always a internalizing of adversity. You had a situation happen that you didn't process well and you did not move through, so you internalized. And because you internalized it, now you're functioning out of that wound, out of that space, and you don't even realize it. And we are here to change your perspective so we can change your awareness, so we can change your life, so you can realize it, so you can stop functioning in that way and actually function in ways that serve you, because we want you to win. I want you to win. We've got a school for that, by the way. If you like what you're hearing here, in a week, the school opens, Seasons and Signs Academy, to help you heal exponentially faster and mind, body, spirit, collectively, holistically. And I'm so excited to bring that to you. It's coming next week, so get yourself ready. Super excited. If you like what you're seeing and hearing here, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, tell your friends, comment below. We're bringing all these wounds in for the next, week, so I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you guys on the next video.